Let's start by learning a little more about the SQL Server Data Tools environment. So what is needed to work in the SQL Server Data Tool environment? The SQL Server Data Tool utility will provide everything you need to create an analysis services database, except, of course, the data for the data source. The development environment helps organize the objects needed for the cube with different folders. When using Visual Studio, development is saved into a project, which is then in turn saved into a solution. The solution enables you to have multiple projects, like one for integration services, one for analysis services, or one or more for reporting services. Also, when you create a new project, there are business intelligence templates to use. There are templates for integration services, or SSAS, analysis services, or SSAS, and reporting services, SSRS. XMLA metadata is stored behind the objects of all things you create in analysis services. The visual objects you work for are stored in this XML file, which is metadata needed to deploy a cube. Please use caution when editing these files because they could become unuseful in your environment if edited outside of Visual Studio. Even though the environment can seem complex at times, wizards are going to be provided for almost all the objects that you create. Once you use these wizards 2 or 3 times, they will become more intuitive. Further changes are available and actually have to be made once you finish the wizard. And this is going to be completed with the Dimension Designer and the Cube Designer. There's actually an offline versus online option for analysis services databases. When we create the project and solution, we will be offline, meaning we're not connected directly to an analysis services database, and we actually have to deploy our changes for them to become active. Online means you're directly connected to a deployed cube, and anytime you make changes in the environment and click the Save button, those saved changes are pushed to the deployed database. Use caution when doing this. The last thing is source control. Source control is integrated into Visual Studio, and usually people use Team Foundation Server. This enables you to store versions of cubes for release management, and you can control what's deployed to development, test, or production environment. Also, multiple users will be able to work on different parts once things are stored in source control. Let's go ahead into SQL Server Data Tools and start creating some of these objects. Let's start by opening up the SQL Server Data Tools from Program Files. If we click on Start, we can start typing SQL Server Data, and we'll see the data tools for Visual Studio 2013. Once that is open, we're going to need to create a new project. Before I create the new project, I'm going to go over to the Solution Explorer window and pin it to our environment, and also make it a little bit smaller in order to maximize the use of our workspace. We're going to go to the File menu choice, New, and Project. Here, we're prompted by the templates for business intelligence. Please make sure you pick the Analysis Services Multidimensional and Data Mining project. This is the one we're going to use for multidimensional cubes. Next, we're going to give the name to this project, and we'll call it Adventure Works DW. In the bottom right, we can change the location by clicking the Browse button, or we can create a new directory for this solution. We also have the ability to add this to source control. We're going to keep the checkbox for Create New Directory for a solution and click OK. By doing this, you're able to organize things under one folder and easily move this code to another space if need be. If you notice, there's various windows that are open. there are push pins for our properties and Solution Explorer. And if we click the auto hide, you'll notice that the properties are off to the right now, and we can always bring them back up. The same thing for Solution Explorer, in addition to having the Team Explorer and Class Viewer tabs on the bottom. Now, before we start creating any objects in this project, let's connect to an online version of an analysis services database. We don't have to close this project. All we have to do is go up to the File menu choice, Open, and we can go to Analysis Services Database. Here we're prompted for the server, which we're just going to put a period for localhost, and then we're able to pick the deployed databases. Here we'll see the AdventureWorks Enterprise Edition database deployed earlier. We'll click that and click OK, and now it's going to start retrieving the metadata from the deployed database. And remember, use caution when doing this because you can actually save changes on top of what's been deployed. Here we can see our dimensions, our data mining structures, cubes, source views, and data sources. We can drill into the data source, see where it's connected to, and even edit the connection string. I'm going to hit Escape or Cancel and Cancel. Go to the data source view and double-click AdventureWorks DW. Here we have a huge area of all the tables that are connected. If I zoom to fit, we'll see a lot of information in here. If we want to see a subset, we can go to the diagram organizer and click Internet Sales. Now, if we zoom to fit by right-clicking in the area, we'll see a little scaled-down version of a data mart. In this example, as I open up the windows a little bit more and zoom it to fit again, you will be able to see more about these tables. This is the Internet Sales Fact Table, which is the basis of all our measures. Below it is the customer and the date. And then we can see that there's a snowflake schema between Internet Sales, Product, Subcategory, and Category. These are all things we're familiar with by looking at dimensional modeling.